Hi, welcome to my latest art video. I am presenting today a very special project, but first, I want to apologize for the vertical format. I recorded this for social media, and I thought that I could make something a little bit fancy and overlay all of these vertical videos so that they fill the screen. But sadly, all the video editing programs are a bit beyond me, and they've been very glitchy for me, and I've kind of had to jump around to try to edit these videos that I do for fun. So in the end, I decided that I would rather you see it in a vertical format rather than keep postponing posting another video. So I hope you enjoy it, even though it's not ideal having a vertical on a horizontal. But here we are, and it's okay because I really enjoyed making these pieces, and I hope you enjoy them too. So these are two paintings, a diptych for a movie called Perfume de Gardenias. It's a local Puerto Rican production by Macha, who's the director, and she's a friend of mine. And well, making independent cinema is a struggle anywhere in the world. It's a bit just as difficult in Puerto Rico, where our our film industry or film scene is always on the verge of becoming a thing, but it kind of stalls and breaks a little bit in between the years. So I don't know, during the pandemic we had like a big surge of beautiful independent movies, some comedy, some dramas and stuff, and Perfume de Gardenias kind of blew up during that time because our local movie theater chain, because of the pandemic and the movies weren't getting released, they didn't have a lot of movies to play, and plus we weren't supposed to be going to the movies anyway. But once it became a bit safer to go to the movies, they used local productions and to to fill up the theaters, and that meant that something that was a little bit prohibitive for independent cinema became very accessible because they lowered the prices for productions, and the local movies could be on screen for longer since they didn't have to compete with outside productions. And it was just a really ideal time to get your movie in theaters. And so Perfume de Gardenias and a whole bunch of other local productions got quite of a big boost, and people in Puerto Rico and outside, because Perfume de Gardenias did some festivals, got to see what it is that's really nice about Puerto Rican cinema and very unique Puerto Rican voices and themes. So, and Perfume de Gardenias is one of those productions. If you were blessed to see it, if you were lucky enough to see it in the theaters, it's a very emotional movie, and it's very beautiful, and it touches on death and right, on death and mourning, and in a very sincere and a very Puerto Rican way, but still funny and a little with a bit of dark humor, and it's a really beautiful movie. So needless to say, I enjoyed it. But independent productions can incur on some debt, especially if they don't make the money that they invested in theaters with the tickets. So Perfume de Gardenia, sadly, is in need of some help. The production is in need of some help, and this is where the piece comes in. So I don't know how long the auction is going to run, but as of now, it's still going on, and the piece that I'm making here, the diptych, is up for auction, and it starts in $100, and you can bid more. Hopefully, bid more, so that they get a little bit of help. And I'll put the link on the information below for my piece and for the auction in general. And I hope you can, if you can, I hope you can help. Well, then bid a little bit on this piece or whichever other piece or object you like from the auction. There's a lot of variety in the auction, so there might be something for you even if you don't like particularly this piece. So let me talk a little bit about the plot of the movie so you understand what you're seeing in my piece. Because my piece directly references the movie. And Perfume de Gardenias is Isabel's story. Isabel is played by Luz Maria Rondon. And she's an old lady who has a very set routine. She takes care of her husband who's bedridden and unconscious, I guess, in like perhaps in a coma. And the movie begins with her taking care of him and the appointed nurse coming in to help, and then all of a sudden he dies. And so now she has to deal with the fact that she's going to be by herself and not have this routine. Not that the husband obviously he's in a coma, he didn't participate in her life, but it's part of her routine, and she has to deal with her funeral and stuff. And so her daughter and son return, and there's a lot of family dynamics, but she designs the funeral. And the local church group, who also design funerals, see that she has an innate talent to bring out the personality of the deceased with the decorations, and that her funeral was very well attended, and the funeral group, the church group that usually does the funeral, kind of scouts her for their funerals. And so all of a sudden, Isabel has this purpose where she's part of this group of very eclectic ladies. Like there's a zealot and a chismosa and kind of like a waif, like a shy flower or a wallflower, and all of these dynamics and kind of work together to create this very funny group where Isabel is now participating, and the funerals get very flamboyant and very fun. I know for a fact that because I interviewed Macha Colón in my podcast, Desmenuzando with Mario, that she talked about the symbolism of each of the funerals that we're watching in the movie, in the montage, and how Isabel sees these people who are deceased, but not really. And so the movie kind of takes off from there, and in between all of this comedy of making these very flamboyant funerals, you also have Isabel's family coming to grips on how perhaps they were not the most traditional family. They have a lot of dysfunction, and they have a lot of pain that they have to go through. But then the movie takes quite a turn. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the turn is a bit shocking, but funny, and it kind of helps divide the movie into what Isabel was becoming as part of the group, and then later on as she finds her own voice, with the help of her neighbor, who is an LGBTQ person, and it kind of goes on from there. So there's a lot of Puerto Rican actors and actresses, or genderless actors in the movie, and they're all wonderfully cast, and they all have such everybody has a funny line, or everybody has a funny moment, or everybody has a touching moment. And the movie makes you cry, makes you laugh, makes you feel seen as a Puerto Rican. And so it's a very beautiful production. And without spoiling anything, just if you can watch it, and hopefully eventually it'll be available for streaming. or renting. Although I would imagine if it's to rent digitally, I'll put the link below. So keep that in mind. That's also another way that you can help out if it's actually for renting digitally. So basically, my pieces are some of the shots from the movie, but because Isabel and Luz Maria Rondon has a very particular look, obviously she's a great old lady. Um, but it was because we hardly ever see very elderly people in cinema. And yeah, I know we see the Lily Tomlins and the Jane Fondas and stuff like that, but it's still very Hollywood elder. This Luz Maria Rondon has aged very gracefully, and she shows her age. And I was particularly struck by her arms and hands, and I wanted to emphasize them here. In this one where she's pouring coffee, and this shot is kind of wider, and you can see that she's pouring coffee for her son, and her grandson is there, and her daughter. But I wanted to focus on the act of serving the coffee, because during the movie she's kind of always cooking and in the kitchen, and it seems to be her realm to bring comfort to people, and that naturally moves on to the funeral, part of the movie. And the other painting, when we get to there, but I want to play a little bit of music, and I don't want to ramble for the whole 26 minutes. But in the second painting, I focus on her face, not while she's doing any of the tasks, but of the funerals or with her friends or eventually with her neighbor, but as she's pondering what's next. I tried to get that contemplation, and again, it was a wider shot. She seemed to be in bed, and the furniture is very lacquered 80s furniture. The set design in the movie is actually really good as well. I mean, it would have to be because the funerals are very important, and that's set design. But her house is very beautiful as well, in a very tchotchkes filled old furniture kind of way, and the neighborhood, of course, is very Puerto Rican neighborhood. So basically, the other painting is her contemplating what's next, and the two smaller shots in the diptych are a chango, which is our black bird, if you will. It's not a crow, it's not a raven, but it's our version of that. It's called the chango. And the other shot is a lot of medicine bottles that are not Isabel's, they're her neighbors. Not the neighbors that we see in the third act a lot, but rather her immediate neighbor. And I was just struck by how this shot of all of these little orangey golden medicine bottles are just piled up on the counter in the kitchen of this neighbor's house, and that it was a specific critique towards our health system, where, because as we're seeing all of these empty pill bottles all piled up, the neighbor is still mentioning that she can't afford her medication, and she has to decide what she can pay and what she can't pay, and how to take it despite her doctor's orders, because she has to make the medicine last. And so I thought that shot was very beautiful as well. So all of these are little cropped kind of my interpretations of the shots of the movie. And the color palette, I wanted it to be something a little bit warm, but very, very limited color palette. So you have your oranges and blues and a little bit of purple here and there. And I don't know, I thought in the end it really worked out. I did the line art with the Poscas, with the Posca paint pens, and I did all of the rest with the acrylic wash that you've been seeing on screen. And stick to the end, you'll see the finished pieces, and I'll come back to say goodbye and to give you some more information, I guess. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. here we are at the end. You've seen me underpaint and do some of the details, but now we're gonna jump to, with the magic of editing, we're gonna jump to the Poscas and the line art. Here we go. And I tried to get as much of the character of her hands and face as I could with the limited color palette, and I'm very happy on how it turned out. So please check out the information below. Go check out the auction if you can help, and follow me on social media for more projects like this. You know, I do an art video and a Sims video hopefully every other month. So follow my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.